Y'all hear me? Oh my God, my ego just went through the roof. All right. Okay, before I jump in, can we all give all the speakers today and the entire TEDx community a huge round of applause? Seriously. It's been an honor for me to get to know y'all, and I've really enjoyed these past couple days, and I'm really excited to see where you all go. And thank you for letting me crash your party. This has been awesome. So I'm gonna grab that. So before I jump into the 1% better rule, I want to dedicate this to my grandmother, Jacqueline Mayer. She was a singer and absolutely loved to be on stage and loved to perform for other people, but I can't say the same. I will not be up here singing for y'all today. That's a guarantee. But she would always encourage us to get out of our comfort zones and try crazy new things for the fun of it and to make the most out of our time here. So that's why I came back to speak with y'all today. I graduated from PACE back in 2019, which makes me a dinosaur to y'all, but I'm a senior up at Syracuse University now. And sometimes people will ask me, what's a kid from Atlanta, a kid from the South, doing up in Syracuse, New York, of all places? And in the beginning, it was the major, and it was the sports teams and the facilities. But as time has gone on, I've realized it's the people. And they're the same people that helped me write this speech. They're the same people that keep me going back to Syracuse every semester. And they're the same people that I will keep going to see after I graduate this spring. And so, as the only speaker today that's been in the student's shoes and has sat where y'all are sitting right now, I felt like it was only right to do my part and give you all a little bit of advice for that next step that you're all about to make. And to do that, I enlisted the help of some of my friends up at school. And I asked them, if they were in high school, what's one thing they would tell themselves when they were in high school to prepare for college? And so let's get to the results. Absolutely never take an 8 a.m. It may seem easy now, getting to school at 8 for assembly. For me, it was 8:15 because of traffic, but avoid it at all costs. Seriously. Go abroad and tell everyone about it. I swear, it was the best experience possible, and I highly recommend it to any of y'all who have that opportunity. And so now that I've told everybody, I can check that off my list. Find a balance between school and your social life. I'm the first person to tell you that when you get on campus, it's important to get involved. But it's also important to find that time for yourself and to find that balance between school and your social life. And finally, focus on getting 1% better every day. This was my contribution to the list, and today I'm going to do two things. I'm going to, one, share a personal story about how this rule has changed my life, and two, I'm going to give you guys some advice or some tips on how you can incorporate this rule into your lives. So just two things, and then y'all can go and watch Sunday Night Football. So the first time I heard about the 1% better rule, it was in a YouTube video. And I'm going to show a clip from it in a second, but in the video you're going to hear a bit of the story of Chris Nickich. Chris is an Ironman, and what the Ironman is, it's a triathlon with three main elements: an open water swim, a bike ride, and a run. But what makes Chris's story so spectacular is the fact that he's the first person with Down syndrome to complete this absolutely grueling 140.6 mile race. So let's get to the video.
When you have a child with Down syndrome, you don't fit in. They don't get invited to parties. They don't get invited to anything.
I remember one time he said a kid called me stupid and ugly. And I said, well, how did that make you feel? And he looked up and he said, it made me feel not happy.
Everything you do is a challenge. It's a fight. Other fathers don't get to experience that. You have to battle everything in order to just get them to be included.
When doctors say I can do anything, the first thing came out of my mouth. Don't talk to doctor.
Chris loved basketball and golf. But in 2017, Chris's dad, Nick, discovered a Special Olympics triathlon program.
All right, so what stood out about Chris's story to me was, one, the way that he approached life. And you saw it in the video a little bit, but Every time he saw a challenge, he saw that as an opportunity. And you heard him say it, don't tell him that he'll fail. And I absolutely loved that. And the second thing was the 1% better rule. And it kind of alludes to it a little bit later in the video. But in a nutshell, the rule is that it takes a goal, it takes a challenge in front of you, and it shrinks it into a bunch of smaller micro goals as a way to track progress a little bit at a time and not overwhelm yourself. And I love that because coincidentally, I was also training for my first triathlon when I saw that video. Not an Ironman like Chris by any means, but an Olympic distance triathlon that's recommended to beginners that want to one day work towards that race. So I saw that video, but at the time I was struggling. And I was really struggling with the open water swim and the bike ride, which were the first two events of the race. And I figured, if I could take Chris's advice here and implement this rule into my life, maybe I'll also be able to complete this race. And so the first thing that I did, the next day, I went to the pool, and I just tried to do one more lap than the day before. It was that simple, one more lap. And, after, 3, 4, 5 weeks in the pool, I started to notice a difference. And of course, I'm not going to lie up here and say that there were all good days. There were good days and there were bad days. But after about a month in the water, I noticed a difference, and I decided to take that approach and apply it to the bike as well. And with the bike, I just tried to go a little bit further than the time before. And after about 2 months of this, it was time for race day. And on race day, on the start line in front of me was a 1.2 mile open water swim, an 18-mile bike ride, and a 5-mile run. And so when the race director pulled the start gun for the race, we all jumped in at the same time, and another man's foot hits me square in the face. I swear to God. I thought it was the perfect introduction to the sport of triathlon. Thankfully, there were no more setbacks in the pool, or no more setbacks in the water, no more flat tires on the bike, and the run went pretty well. And I did the race in 1 hour and 46 minutes. But that didn't matter. It didn't matter to me, and it shouldn't matter to you. I don't expect you all to hear my story and start training for a triathlon. What I do hope you take away from this is that we are able to accomplish a lot more than we initially expect by only trying to do a little bit at a time. After the race, I did some research. I wanted to see, is there anybody else that's talking about this? Anybody else that had done this before? And it turns out that it's actually been a concept that's been in front of me throughout my entire life. It's in movies like The Karate Kid and Rocky, where you see the actors on screen working a little bit at a time towards a goal. And if y'all haven't seen these movies, ask your parents. I'm sure they'll watch with you. And it's also in the New York Times bestseller Atomic Habits, written by James Clear. And in the book, Clear outlines that in the 80s, Pat Riley, who used to coach the Lakers, used to take a stopwatch out at the beginning of the season, and he would time his players. And over the course of the season, he would ask them to just get 1% faster, 1% better every single day. And 8 months later, they won an NBA championship. And then they did it again the next year. They were the first team in 20 years to go back-to-back in the NBA. And thankfully, because I'm awful at math, Clear kind of outlines it here on the right side of the screen. And the math says that if you're to implement this rule on day 1 of the year, at the end of the year, you'll end up 37 times better than when you started. 37 times better, right? So who wouldn't want that, right? So now that I've got you all on board, I'm going to share some tips on how you can incorporate this rule into your life. The first thing to do is to set your goal. And for the students in the room, this can be anything. This can be getting into your dream school. It can be, scoring a perfect score on your ACT or your SAT. It can be getting your driver's license. First, set your goal. And then define what better means to you, right? Like, what does better look like? Is it showing up early and staying late at practice to get extra reps in with the coaches? Is it asking your parents to let you drive home from school to get that extra time in behind the wheel? Or is it doing one more ACT practice problem before you put the book away? After you define what better means to you, you've got to invest in yourself every day. In my opinion, this rule really only works if you're putting the requisite amount of energy and effort into it every single day. And once you string 3, 4, 5 days like that together, you'll realize you only got that far by just trying to get 1% better every day. I want to thank Mr. Kaufman for letting me come back and speak with you all today. I want to thank the entire TEDx team, my parents, my grandparents, my sisters, and all of y'all here today. And a special shout out to my parents. It's their anniversary today, so I want to thank them for that. Thank you guys. It's been great.